The massive ship appeared without warning at the edge of the solar system. It was bigger than anything humans had ever built, stretching several kilometers in length. Behind it, hundreds of smaller vessels emerged from what looked like tiers in space itself. At the Global Defense Command Center beneath the Rocky Mountains, Admiral James Wilson stared at the main screen with steady eyes. The coffee in his cup had gone cold hours ago, forgotten as soon as the first anomalies appeared on their deep space sensors. "Sir, they're moving into the solar system," reported Lieutenant Tom Baker from his station. "Their formation suggests military organization." Wilson nodded slowly. Humanity had prepared for this moment for decades, ever since they'd discovered the ruins on Mars, remnants of an ancient observation post. They knew they weren't alone. The only question had been when, not if, they would make contact. The alien ships moved with precision, spreading out in a pattern that would have seemed beautiful if it wasn't so threatening. They passed Neptune's orbit within hours, their speed defying conventional physics. "Get me the Security Council," Wilson ordered, "and wake up every head of state. They need to see this." Within 30 minutes, the emergency broadcast system had activated worldwide. Civilians looked up at their screens to see the same message in every language. "This is not a drill. First contact imminent. Remain calm and await further instructions." The alien fleet continued its advance, now passing Jupiter. Their formation shifted, creating what military analysts recognized as a standard containment pattern. They weren't here for friendly conversation. In orbit, Earth's defense platforms silently tracked the incoming vessels. These stations had been built in secret over the last 15 years, their existence known only to a handful of people. They appeared to be normal satellites to anyone looking up from Earth, but each one housed enough firepower to level a small continent. "Admiral," Baker called out, his voice tight. "They're broadcasting." The message came through in perfect English, transmitted simultaneously in every major language on Earth. The voice was artificially smooth, clearly computer-generated. "People of Earth, you are now entering the jurisdiction of the Galactic Empire. Your planet has been scheduled for integration. Resistance is futile and will result in immediate pacification. You have 1 Earth hour to surrender your governing authority to Imperial control." Wilson exchanged looks with his senior staff. They had run simulations of first contact thousands of times, but none had predicted such blatant aggression. The Empire clearly expected no meaningful resistance. "Send our response," Wilson commanded. "The one we prepared." Baker typed in the command, and Earth's unified message beamed toward the alien fleet. "This is Earth. We acknowledge your presence. We request peaceful dialogue and cultural exchange." The response was immediate. "Peaceful dialogue is not an option. Your species is too primitive to warrant equal status. Submit or face consequences." Wilson pressed a button on his chair, connecting him to every military installation on Earth and in orbit. "This is Wilson. Authorization code Echo 7 Delta. Initiate Protocol Fortress." Across the planet, hidden bunkers rumbled to life. Underground hangars opened, revealing squadrons of advanced fighters. The orbital platforms began charging their main weapons, though keeping them carefully hidden. "Sir," Baker reported, "the enemy fleet has passed Mars orbit. They'll be in strike range within 20 minutes. Wilson stood up, his weathered face set with determination. "Send word to all commands. No one fires unless fired upon. But if they start something..." He paused, looking at the massive alien ships approaching his homeworld. "Make damn sure we finish it." In cities across Earth, people gathered in streets and squares, looking up at the sky. The alien ships were visible now, dark shapes blocking out the stars. News channels broadcasted continuous coverage, while governments worldwide declared states of emergency. In the command center, Wilson watched as the massive alien fleet took up position around Earth. Their main vessel, the one that had appeared first, moved to a point directly above the North Atlantic. "Sir," Baker said quietly, We're receiving another transmission. The same artificial voice filled the command center. Your time has expired. Prepare for immediate integration. Wilson straightened his uniform and spoke clearly into the global command channel. All units, maintain positions. Remember your training. Whatever happens next, we show them what humanity is made of. The alien ships began to move. First contact was about to become first combat. The Imperial fleet's first attack was meant to be a demonstration of power. Their largest vessel, positioned above the Atlantic, charged its main weapon, a massive energy cannon designed to vaporize entire cities. They aimed at an uninhabited area of the Sahara Desert, intending to show Earth what resistance would bring. The beam fired, a brilliant purple streak cutting through Earth's atmosphere. But something unexpected happened. The energy blast hit an invisible barrier 30 kilometers above the planet's surface and scattered into thousands of harmless light particles. In the command center, Admiral Wilson allowed himself a small smile. Quantum shield holding at 100%, reported Lieutenant Baker, trying to keep the excitement from his voice. The Empire's attack had no effect. The alien fleet paused. For several seconds, nothing moved. Then another transmission came through. Impossible. Your civilization does not possess this technology. Surrender your shield control immediately. Wilson pressed his comm button. This is Earth. We would still prefer peaceful dialogue. However, if you insist on hostilities, we are prepared to defend ourselves. The Empire responded with a full barrage. Hundreds of ships fired simultaneously, their weapons lighting up the sky like artificial stars. Each blast met the same fate as the first, scattering harmlessly against Earth's invisible shield. "Sir," Baker called out, "they're scanning our defense systems. Should we reveal our platforms?" Wilson nodded. "Let's show them what they're really dealing with." Around the planet, what appeared to be normal communications satellites transformed. Panels shifted, weapons emerged, and suddenly the Empire found itself facing over 300 orbital defense platforms, each equipped with technology that matched or exceeded their own. How? The Empire's transmission contained actual emotion now. Your species was primitive just decades ago. "The ruins on Mars," Wilson replied. "You left them there, didn't you? An observation post to watch our development. We found them 30 years ago. Reverse-engineered everything we could. Then we improved on it. The Empire's ships began to reposition, trying to find weak points in Earth's defenses. But the orbital platforms moved with them, maintaining perfect coverage. Years of drills and simulations had prepared Earth's defenders for this dance. In the command center, Wilson received word from the science division. Dr. Anna Miller's team had completed their analysis of the Empire's ships. "Sir, their shield technology is actually inferior to ours. They rely on brute force rather than efficiency. We can penetrate their defenses with targeted strikes." Wilson considered this information. The Empire had made a critical mistake. They had assumed Earth would be an easy conquest, another primitive world to add to their collection. Instead, they found themselves facing an equal, perhaps even superior force. "All platforms," Wilson commanded, "initiate protocol lightning." The orbital platforms fired simultaneously. Not the massive energy weapons the Empire expected, but precise, focused beams that slipped through their shields like needles through fabric. 20 Imperial ships lost power instantly, their crews shocked but unharmed. "Warning shot delivered," Baker announced. The Empire's response was immediate. Their fleet began to pull back, creating distance between themselves and Earth's defenses. Their main ship, however, remained in position. A new voice came through the communication system, no longer artificial, but clearly alien. "This is High Commander Thex of the Imperial Fleet. You have committed an act of war against the Empire. The consequences will be severe." Wilson stood up, his voice firm as he replied. "High Commander, you entered our solar system uninvited. You threatened our planet. You fired the first shot. We defended ourselves. I suggest you consider your next actions very carefully." The tension in the command center could be cut with a knife. Everyone knew this was a pivotal moment. The Empire had never faced defeat in centuries of expansion. Their response would determine whether this became a prolonged conflict or if reason would prevail. High Commander Thex's voice returned. "This is not over. We will return with a force that will overwhelm any defense you possess." As the Imperial fleet began their retreat, Wilson turned to his staff. "Get me everyone. We have work to do. They'll be back, and next time, they won't underestimate us." The Empire had made their first mistake. It wouldn't be their last. The asteroid belt between Mars and Jupiter became humanity's first line of defense. Captain Mark Thompson stood on the bridge of the EDS Defender, watching his crews install the last of the gravity mines. These invisible weapons would turn the natural space rocks into devastating projectiles when activated. "Mining equipment, my foot," he muttered, remembering the Empire's dismissive scan of their asteroid operations weeks ago. They had mistaken humanity's military preparations for simple resource gathering. "All teams report deployment complete," his second-in-command, Lisa Reed, announced. The entire belt is now a weapon. They had 3 days. Intelligence suggested the Empire would return with a force 10 times larger than their first fleet. Earth wasn't waiting passively for the invasion. In the void of space, thousands of automated drones moved silently among the asteroids, their systems dormant to avoid detection. Each one carried enough firepower to cripple an Imperial cruiser. The Empire would face an enemy that fought unlike anything they'd encountered before. "Message from Command," Reed reported. "The Empire's fleet has been detected passing Pluto's orbit. Estimated arrival time, 72 hours. Thompson nodded. "Send word to all ships. Fall back to secondary positions. Let's give them a nice clear path through the asteroid belt." The Earth Defense Fleet, consisting of 300 ships, retreated behind Mars. To the Empire's sensors, it would appear as if humanity was consolidating its forces near Earth. In reality, they were clearing the stage for the first act. The Imperial fleet arrived exactly as predicted. 5,000 ships, ranging from small fighters to massive dreadnoughts, emerged from faster-than-light travel near Neptune. Their formation was perfect, their numbers overwhelming. "New transmission," Reed announced. "They're broadcasting on all frequencies." High Commander Thex's voice filled every ship in the human fleet. "This is your final opportunity to surrender. The Empire's mercy has limits." Thompson pressed his comm button. The response they'd prepared was simple: no entry. The Imperial fleet began their advance. They moved cautiously through the outer solar system, expecting resistance. Finding none, their confidence grew. By the time they reached the asteroid belt, they had increased their speed significantly. "They're entering the kill zone," Reed reported. "All mines and drones report ready." Thompson took a deep breath. "Initiate Operation Avalanche." The gravity mines activated simultaneously. Thousands of asteroids, from tiny rocks to massive boulders, suddenly changed direction. The Imperial fleet found itself in the middle of an artificial meteor storm. At the same time, the hidden drones powered up. Each one targeted a specific enemy ship, emerging from behind asteroids to fire precise shots at vulnerable points identified by Earth's intelligence. The Empire's perfect formation shattered. Ships collided trying to avoid the asteroids. Others exploded as drone strikes found their marks. What had been an orderly advance became chaos. "Second phase," Thompson ordered. "All ships, execute jump maneuvers." The Earth Defense Fleet appeared in the middle of the confusion, emerging from behind Mars to strike at the disorganized Imperial forces. Their quantum weapons, designed specifically to counter Imperial technology, cut through enemy shields with surgical precision. "Sir," Reed called out, "the Empire is launching fighters." Thompson smiled. "Spring the trap." Hidden throughout the asteroid belt, automated defense turrets activated. Thousands of them, disguised as mining equipment, created a crossfire zone that no small ship could survive. The Imperial fighters found themselves in a killing field. "The enemy fleet is attempting to regroup," Reed reported. "They're trying to push through to Mars orbit." "Not today," Thompson replied. "All ships implement scatter protocol. Hit and run attacks only. Don't let them form up." The Earth ships broke into small groups, striking from multiple directions before disappearing behind asteroids or into prepared hiding spots. The Empire's superior numbers meant nothing when they couldn't bring their full force to bear. After 6 hours of continuous combat, the Imperial fleet began to retreat. They had lost nearly 1,000 ships while inflicting minimal damage on Earth's forces. As the enemy fled back toward the outer solar system, Thompson received a message from Admiral Wilson. "Well done, Captain. But this was just the beginning. They'll be back, and they'll be angry." Thompson looked at the tactical display, showing the retreating Imperial ships. "Let them come," he said quietly. "We'll be ready." The asteroid belt had become humanity's first victory. It wouldn't be the last. The Imperial battle computer predicted a 99.9% chance of victory. High Commander Thex stood on his command bridge, watching as 15,000 warships prepared for what would surely be the final assault on Earth. The Empire had never deployed such a massive force against a single planet. "Launch the new weapon," Thex ordered. "Show them the true power of the Empire." From the flagship's belly emerged a massive sphere, glowing with dark energy. The Empire scientists had worked frantically to develop this planet killer after their previous defeats. It was designed to bypass Earth's quantum shields completely. In Earth's command center, Admiral Wilson watched the sphere with growing concern. "Analysis. Unknown technology," Lieutenant Baker reported. "But it's putting out more energy than anything we've ever seen." Wilson pressed a button, connecting to Earth's secret weapon, the Global Defense AI. Unlike the Empire's battle computers, Earth's AI had been developed to think creatively, to adapt and learn in real time. "Assessment," Wilson asked. The AI's response was immediate. "The sphere appears to be a dimensional weapon. Recommend immediate activation of Protocol Omega." Wilson gave the order. Across Earth, hidden quantum generators powered up. The planet's shield didn't just strengthen, it changed frequency, cycling through millions of variations per second. The Empire launched their attack. The sphere released its energy, a beam of pure darkness that seemed to devour light itself. It struck Earth's cycling shield and splashed harmlessly across it. "Impossible," Thex shouted. "Fire everything." The Imperial fleet unleashed their full arsenal. Energy beams, plasma torpedoes, and exotic particles filled space. Earth's defense platforms responded in kind, their weapons guided by the AI's precise calculations. In orbit, the battle became a light show visible from the planet's surface. Millions looked up, watching as humanity fought for its survival. "Sir," Baker called out, "the AI reports a pattern in their attacks. Their ships, they're networked, controlled centrally." Wilson understood immediately. "Can we hack it?" "Already done," the AI responded. "Their battle computer uses predictable algorithms. Exploiting now." Across the Imperial fleet, chaos erupted. Ships began firing at wrong targets. Some turned on each other. The perfect formation dissolved into confusion. "What's happening?" Thex demanded as his own ship's systems began to malfunction. The answer came in the form of a message, broadcast across every Imperial channel. "Your technology is obsolete. Surrender or retreat." But the Empire didn't surrender. They couldn't. Their entire civilization was built on the belief in their technological superiority. To admit defeat would destroy everything they stood for. "Manual control," Thex ordered. "Disconnect from the network." But it was too late. Earth's defense platforms had already identified the critical weaknesses in the Imperial ships. Their targeting was perfect, their strikes precise. "Launch the fighters," Wilson commanded. Earth's fighters emerged from hidden bases on the Moon and Mars. Unlike the large, bulky Imperial ships, these were small, agile, and piloted by both humans and AI. They darted between the enemy vessels, striking with devastating accuracy. The Empire's losses mounted. Without their networked battle computer, their numerical advantage meant little against Earth's superior tactical AI and human ingenuity. "Sir," Baker reported, "they're pulling back. Their fleet is in full retreat." Wilson watched as the mighty Imperial Armada fled, leaving behind thousands of destroyed or disabled ships. The Sphere, their superweapon, drifted powerless in space, its energy completely drained by Earth's cycling shields. "Casualties?" Wilson asked. "Minimal. We lost 12 platforms and 30 fighters. All crews successfully evacuated." The victory was overwhelming. Earth's defenses had not just held, they had crushed the largest fleet the Empire had ever assembled. In his flagship, limping away from the battle, High Commander Thex received a message from the Imperial capital. "You have failed. Return for judgment." He looked one last time at the blue planet that had destroyed his career, his reputation, and the Empire's aura of invincibility. How had they gone so wrong? How had they underestimated these humans so badly? On Earth, celebrations erupted worldwide. But in the command center, Wilson remained focused. "They'll be back," he said. "And next time, they'll bring everything they have." The AI's response was calm. "And we will be ready." The Empire had struck with all its might, and Earth had struck back harder. Dr. Anna Miller hadn't slept in 3 days. The captured Imperial ship's engine room held secrets that could change everything. Her team had been working nonstop, analyzing every component of the advanced faster-than-light drive. "Look at this," she said, pointing to a holographic display. "Their FTL drives don't just bend space. They punch through it. That's why they're so fast." Her assistant, Jack Porter, nodded. "But that's also why they leave those energy signatures we can track." "More than that," Miller said, her eyes bright with discovery. "The punch-through creates a weakness, a flaw in their defense we can exploit." The laboratory beneath the Pacific Ocean was Earth's most secure research facility. Here, captured Imperial technology was studied, improved upon, and turned into weapons to defend humanity. "Send word to command," Miller ordered. "Tell them I need to speak with Admiral Wilson immediately." Within an hour, Wilson's hologram appeared in the lab. "This better be good, Doctor. We've detected massive Imperial fleet movements. They're gathering for something big." Miller displayed her findings. Their FTL drives create micro-tears in space. These tears don't fully heal for several minutes. If we can detect them, we can target them, Wilson finished. "How soon can you have a working weapon?" 24 hours, Miller replied. "But we'll need every quantum computer on Earth to calculate the targeting solutions." Wilson didn't hesitate. "You'll have them, whatever you need." The next day, as Miller's team installed the new weapons on Earth's defense platforms, the Imperial fleet arrived. Not in the outer solar system this time. They appeared just beyond the moon's orbit, 50,000 ships strong. "They've improved their drives," Baker reported in the command center. "No warning on this jump." But Miller's voice came through clearly. "Perfect. The bigger the jump, the bigger the tear. All platforms. Activate quantum sensors." The Empire's new strategy was bold. They had gathered ships from across their territory, stripping their other worlds of defenses for this final assault on Earth. This time, they weren't just seeking victory. They wanted to obliterate humanity completely. "All ships, fire at will," the Imperial command broadcast. "Destroy everything." The space around Earth lit up as 50,000 ships opened fire simultaneously. The quantum shield held, but the strain was enormous. Power stations across the planet worked at maximum capacity to maintain the defense. "Now, Doctor," Wilson ordered. Miller activated her new weapon. Quantum beams lanced out from Earth's platforms, not aiming at the Imperial ships themselves, but at the space behind them. The beams struck the microscopic tears in space-time left by their FTL jumps. The effect was catastrophic. The tears expanded, creating vortexes that pulled at the Imperial ships. Vessels that had jumped in together were drawn back together, colliding catastrophically. "It's working," Baker shouted. "Their fleet formation is breaking apart." The Empire's massive attack turned into a desperate struggle for survival. Ships trying to escape the vortexes found their own FTL drives wouldn't activate. The space around them was too unstable. "Send the message," Wilson commanded. Earth's broadcast was short. "Your technology betrays you. Surrender or be destroyed." For the first time in the Empire's history, ships began signaling surrender. Not just a few, but hundreds, then thousands. The mighty Imperial fleet was collapsing from within. In her lab, Miller watched the tactical displays with satisfaction. "The tiers will seal naturally in about an hour. Any ship that survives until then can leave safely." Wilson nodded. "And they'll carry word of this defeat back to their capital. Let them tell everyone how their greatest fleet was defeated by their own technology." When the space-time tiers finally healed, less than half of the Imperial fleet remained. The survivors fled, leaving their surrendered comrades behind. Earth had not just won a battle, they had shattered the myth of Imperial invincibility. "What do we do with the surrendered ships?" Baker asked. Wilson smiled. "Offer their crews a choice. Return to the Empire in shame, or stay and help us build something better." Miller's discovery had changed the war. The Empire's greatest strength had become their greatest weakness. And now, every world under Imperial control would know. Earth had found their flaw. The tides of war had turned. Commander Robert Brown stood on the observation deck of the Jupiter Defense Station, watching the gathering fleet. Ships of all shapes and sizes filled the space around Jupiter's moons, but they weren't all from Earth. Former Imperial vessels, now crewed by defectors and rebels, had joined Earth's forces. "Status report," he called out. His tactical officer, David Wells, brought up a holographic display. 300 ships from the Centauri colonies, 200 from the Proxima systems, and 500 more from various Imperial worlds. They all want to fight. The Empire's iron grip was failing. News of Earth's victories had spread across the galaxy, carried by the surviving ships from their failed invasions. For the first time in thousands of years, subjugated worlds saw hope. "Message from the Arcturus Resistance," Wells announced. "They've taken control of their orbital defenses. The Imperial garrison has surrendered." Brown nodded. Each day brought news of another uprising, another world throwing off Imperial control. Earth had become more than just a defender. It had become a symbol of resistance. "Commander," Wells called out urgently. Multiple FTL signatures detected. Large fleet incoming. The Empire wasn't going down without a fight. They had gathered their remaining loyal forces for one desperate assault. Not on Earth this time, but on Jupiter, where the rebellion's fleet gathered. "All ships to battle stations," Brown ordered. "Execute Formation Delta. Remember the training." Earth had shared its technology with its new allies. Every rebel ship now carried quantum shields and the means to detect and exploit FTL tiers. The Empire's technological advantage was gone. The Imperial fleet emerged from FTL, 15,000 ships, their largest remaining battle group. Their commander's voice boomed across all channels. "Traitors and rebels, surrender now, and your deaths will be quick." Brown's response was calm. "You're fighting for a dying empire. We're fighting for freedom. Last chance to join us." The battle that followed would be remembered for centuries. The Empire attacked with desperation, throwing everything they had into the assault. But the rebel fleet, led by Earth's veterans, fought with precision and purpose. Jupiter's moons became waypoints in a complex dance of ships. The rebels used the gas giant's gravity to sling vessels into unexpected attack vectors. The Empire's rigid battle formations broke against this fluid, adaptive strategy. "They're trying to concentrate their forces," Wells reported, "attempting to overwhelm our center." Brown smiled. "Spring the trap." Hidden among Jupiter's smaller moons, automated drone swarms activated. They struck the Imperial fleet from behind. their quantum weapons targeting the weaknesses Earth had discovered. The Empire's formation collapsed. Ships began breaking away, their crews realizing they were fighting for a lost cause. Some turned their weapons on their former commanders, adding to the chaos. "Sir," Wells called out, "Imperial command ship is attempting emergency FTL jump." "Not this time," Brown ordered. "All ships, implement Protocol Omega." The rebel fleet coordinated their attacks, creating a web of quantum disruption that prevented FTL travel. The Imperial command ship found itself trapped, its escape route cut off. The battle lasted 6 hours. When it ended, the Empire's last great fleet was no more. Some ships were destroyed, but most had surrendered or switched sides. "Message from Earth Command," Wells announced. "Admiral Wilson sends congratulations. The Empire's central worlds are in chaos. Regional governors are declaring independence." Brown looked at the tactical display, showing the positions of thousands of Allied ships. What had started as Earth's defense had become a revolution that spanned the galaxy. "Send word to all ships," he ordered. "Set course for the Imperial capital. It's time to end this." The rebels' fleet reformed, now stronger than ever. Former Imperial crews worked alongside Earth's forces, sharing knowledge and tactics. The Empire had spent millennia building walls between species, walls that were now crumbling. "Sir," Wells said quietly, "do you think the Empire expected this when they first demanded Earth's surrender?" Brown shook his head. They thought they were adding another conquered world to their collection. Instead, they found the force that would destroy them. The fleet began moving out, preparing for its final campaign. The Empire had started this war by demanding Earth's submission. They would end it by witnessing their own collapse. Jupiter's moons fell away behind them as the combined fleet jumped to FTL. The revolution was entering its final phase. Freedom was spreading across the stars. The Imperial capital world, Primus, had never seen anything like it. Representatives from 1,000 worlds gathered in the former Imperial Palace's Grand Chamber. Where once Imperial decrees had gone unchallenged, now voices from across the galaxy spoke freely. Admiral Wilson stood at the central podium, his Earth defense uniform standing out among the diverse clothing of the gathered species. The final peace treaty was ready to be signed. "The Empire is gone," he began. "Not destroyed, but transformed. Today, we create something new, the Galactic Alliance of Free Worlds." 3 months had passed since the fall of the Empire. The final battle hadn't been fought with ships and weapons, but with ideas. When Earth's fleet reached Primus, they found the Imperial government had already collapsed from within. "Each world will govern itself," Wilson continued. "The Alliance exists only to ensure peace, promote trade, and defend our common interests." In the audience, Dr. Miller sat beside former Imperial scientists. Together, they had already begun sharing and improving technologies that had been hoarded by the Empire for millennia. Their first joint project was developing safer, more stable FTL drives. Commander Brown, now Admiral Brown, represented Earth's military. Under the new treaty, the Earth Defense Force would help train the Alliance's peacekeeping fleet. Their tactics and technologies would protect freedom rather than enforce submission. The Empire's greatest mistake, Wilson said, wasn't attacking Earth. It was believing that dominance equals strength. True strength comes from unity, from combining our different perspectives and abilities. The Chamber's displays showed celebrations across hundreds of worlds. Species that had been enemies under Imperial rule now worked together, rebuilding what the war had damaged and creating new connections. "Earth doesn't seek to rule," Wilson declared. "We seek to cooperate. Our world will serve as one of many centers of learning and innovation. Our doors are open to all who wish to share knowledge and culture." The first initiatives were already underway. Former Imperial worlds were receiving quantum shield technology to protect themselves. Earth's AI systems were being adapted to help manage interstellar trade and communication. The barriers the Empire had built between worlds were falling. "Let today mark not just the end of the Empire," Wilson said, but the beginning of an era of peace and discovery. The treaty signing began. Each world's representative approached the podium, adding their signature or mark to the document. Some used traditional methods from their cultures: blood prints, energy signatures, or genetic codes. Lieutenant Baker, now Ambassador Baker, managed the proceedings. He had seen humanity's first contact with the Empire turn into conflict. Now he watched as that conflict's end brought genuine first contact with hundreds of species. "The human spirit," one alien representative commented, "is remarkable. You didn't just defeat the Empire. You showed us all a better way." In orbit above Primus, Earth and Alliance ships patrolled together. Their crews shared stories, learned from each other, and built bonds that would last generations. The Empire's strict hierarchies had been replaced by partnerships. As the final signatures were recorded, Wilson made one last declaration. "From this day forward, no empire will threaten our worlds. No species will dominate another. We stand together, or we don't stand at all." The chamber erupted in cheers and their equivalent expressions from various species. The Alliance was born. Back on Earth, citizens watched the ceremony on global broadcasts. Humanity had entered the galactic stage expecting to fight for survival. Instead, they had found their place as leaders in a new age of cooperation. The Empire's no-entry zone had become the galaxy's open door. Wilson looked out at the assembled representatives and smiled. "Let's build something that will last longer than any empire," he said. "Let's build a future worthy of all our peoples." As the ceremony ended, ships across the galaxy lit up their engines in celebration. The light from thousands of vessels created an artificial dawn visible on countless worlds. The Empire had wanted to add Earth to its collection of conquered worlds. Instead, Earth had shown the galaxy how to be free. A new chapter in galactic history had begun, and this time it would be written by all.